When I first came across the Virtue V10, to be honest, I didn't really like it that much. The reason being is, to me, on face value, it kind of followed the same sort of template as a lot of the Nordic adventure brands, and that sort of DNA and ethos had been done quite a lot. But actually, I was completely wrong. After spending quite a lot of time on board the boat, and now doing a number of walkthroughs at different boat shows, getting to know the team, seeing the design behind all of it, I'd now actually put it alongside things like Pardo and D'Antonio and those beautiful sort of Italian day boats, to which this high-end quality craft would sit nicely. We're in Porto Banús, a really windy day, but I'm here filming a whole load of lifestyle content with the boat, and it's given me that great seat time where I can now properly review it as the magazine on the water. So come along with me and I'll show you a bit about the boat. So to kick things off, let me give you a walkthrough. Here in the stern, we obviously, as I've mentioned, got two Yamahas, two V6 300 horsepower Yamahas, really good torque, loads of performance. This boat with the T-top is good for around about 50 knots. Without the T-top, they claim up to about 60 knots, so it's a real weapon of the sea. What I've really noticed and really appreciate about the boat are these two aft bathing platforms to be able to get access into the water really easily. On this side, you've got a lift up and drop down boarding ladder. And on this side, you've got no boarding ladder, but real clean access into the water if you're wanting to jump off or get access onto like a paddle board or a canoe or whatever it may be. The party piece on this boat is the sort of beach club vibe that you get by dropping down the sides. It completely opens up the whole boat. We'll run some B-roll of what we were filming earlier, which really showcases that. But essentially, you have a little control button and the whole side drops down, opens this whole area up. It's really great for families, and it makes you feel like you're on a much larger vessel. We have two sofas in the stern section and a really nice carbon fibre table. You've got plenty of dining space here, really good for entertaining all your friends and family. But what I really like about it is the fact that it will drop down and become a full, very large sun pad. Now, if you follow PBR's channels, at Dusseldorf Boat Show, I did a walkthrough of a sister vessel to this with Mercury power and really fantastic sort of yellowy orange upholstery. I showcased on that video this setup. And essentially it drops down, the table goes lower, everything slides into place, and it becomes a full infilled, very large sun pad, perfect for 2, almost 3 people. What I really like as well, and often you don't see this on open transom boats, is the little security gate on both sides. That enables you to have a bit more security when you've got a dog or young children on board as well. One thing I love about the stern is this electric Webasto sunshade. It completely protects you, and as you can see, it covers the whole aft section fantastically. So even if you've got the sides down, on a hot summer's day, not that we get many in the UK, but internationally, this is going to be perfect. You can enjoy your drinks, your dinner, and have a lovely time and be really comfortable away from the sun. Now, in the UK, we want to absolutely maximize the use of our sun. But in places like Florida, where you could be boating with this craft quite easily, or here in the Med, this is going to be a game changer for those long boating days. Talking about entertaining your friends and family at anchor, the wet bar is a great addition to the craft. It really makes the boat. You've got a really large space here where you could really spec it out how you go boating. You've got a nice little sink there as well. And on this boat, you have fridges both to port and starboard. I really like as well, through the center, you've got a whole load of drawers as well for all of your bits that you want to be able to take out on your boating picnic. When you've closed this top down, you've also got a really decent table here. So if you're not using the sink and those facilities, you can lay out a big spread here. Often I've done like sushi at anchor and stuff, and we get like a little picnic box sent to us. So at anchor, you could lay out loads of stuff here and everybody just can have a nice little nibble. So really nice big area, good cup holders on both sides. And obviously with the uprights to the T-top built into the unit, you've got really good shade from the sun too. Talking about the T-top, you have really good glass both forward and aft in this section, that still lets the sun in, but obviously dampened right down. The Webasto system that I talked about is housed within the T-top, and then you've got some nice downlights as well. So it's a real comfortable place to be. And now we're here in the helm position. This is a lovely area that's really detailed and has got everything where you need it to be. You've got suspension seats that are really comfortable, so they're going to look after you on those longer days, and you've got a grab handle on either side of the windscreen. For the helm station, this one's got two Garmin multifunctional displays, lots of really nicely lit and engraved buttons for controlling all your systems on board, and then you have the Yamaha control box and joystick. One thing I would say about the Yamaha joystick is I do like how progressive it is. It's quite intuitive, it's a nice addition, and it sits here quite nicely next to the steering wheel. One thing that is quite racy about the helm is the whole thing has been laid up with a carbon fiber construction. So you've got all this exposed naked carbon fiber weave. It makes it look very sports car and racy. And yeah, it's a nice addition. In the sun here, it's absolutely popping. One thing I would say is that I think as new editions of this craft come along, it'd be nice to maybe work on these two elements here. I would bring these back about just about an inch. At the moment, they're allowing for multiple things to be rigged here, so I get that. But in a bigger seaway, just not being able to hit your knee on here would probably be quite nice. I haven't to date so far, but I've come quite close. So just pulling that back about an inch, I think would transform this area. But on the whole, this is a really cool cockpit. It's very driver friendly. A lot of T-tops rattle quite a lot. I've been on a number of craft that when you're driving them, especially spirited or in a rougher seaway, the T-top is wobbling like mad and it lacks the true support that it needs. So it's been nice to see Virtue think about this prior. And they've put this carbon fiber stem coming up to the front section of the T-top to secure it a little bit further. So it just shows to me that they're thinking about these sort of engineering topics as they go through the design of the boat. Up forward, you join me on the bow sun pad, a really nice place to be honest. It's got Diamante stitching, it's Silvertex upholstery, so that's really good. It's got cup holders built into it, and you've got grab rails on the front. So you're quite secure. I still would never advise to anybody to be using these spaces when well underway. So slower speeds or anchor up here is a great place to be. You've got an escape hatch underneath for the cabin. You've got a great V-berth and a really decent heads. The head compartment is of a nice size for this type of craft, which sits just under 10 meters. You've got a nice weekend ability. Also, you've got a great amount of storage. For my shoot today, I've been using it and just filling it full of fenders and camera equipment and various things that we've been doing. But if you're going to seriously use this boat, having a space to be able to put the kids down while you're at anchor or things like that is a really nice area and a nice thing to have. You've got good JL audio speakers if you haven't used them before. They're absolutely awesome. So I highly recommend upgrading your boat to JL audio. They haven't paid us for that little plug. I'm genuinely really impressed with their speakers all the time. And you also then have great access to the windlass. The windlass area is really cool on this boat. It pops off from like a cowling out of the bow of the boat that's hidden away, and it's really easy to anchor this boat. You have two steps in the bow area as well, so if you are going bow on to something to unload, or maybe you're going to beach this boat, then having the two steps there is a nice little neat feature. What Virtue have achieved in a very short time is phenomenal. They own their own factory in eastern Poland. They employ about 50 people, and they have the capacity goal of around about 100 boats. They're operating at the moment around about 60 boats a year, and that's growing all the time. They're establishing for themselves a good dealer network as far as Australia too, so they're really gaining in popularity. It's a brand that you see at every single show, slowly, steadily building their brand. And I really like that, because for a small brand to pluck away at the market and to show innovation, it's refreshing to see. A lot of boats follow the same old template, and with the Virtue, with the Petestep hull, it's really trying to spearhead innovation and good build quality. And that's being reflected by the customers that are really truly appreciating this type of craft. More and more are being seen across the world with various different power options and specifications. I love the fact that it's a young, dynamic company operating out of Poland, not subcontracting the build to other people. They own the facility, and they've got some really cool things on the horizon. I know for sure that they've got a cabin version coming at some point. There'll also be larger boats down the line. So the future for Virtue is looking bright. I mentioned at the start of my film that I put this with the likes of D'Antonio, Pardo, that type of craft. I really think it's a nice fit with the sort of Italian sort of look to it, those sort of angles of almost like a Wally-esque on the console. It looks really smart. It's a very striking vessel. With the T-top, you've got great sun protection. I've been boating all day today since around about 8 o'clock this morning, and this has given me loads of protection from the sun. I like that it's got glass, so it doesn't really darken everything down so much, but it does give good protection from the elements. The usability of the craft is really good. This is only a 10-meter craft, it's just below that. But the beam is decent. You've got nice zones forward and aft, and the aft section feels like a much bigger boat, especially with the sides down. When we anchored it for our sort of lifestyle shoot, as it were, earlier, we dropped the sides down, I put the boat at anchor, I was doing everything on my own, and very quickly I transformed it into that sort of beach clubby vibe. So if you're somebody with a family and you're wanting to open up the boat and get the kids getting into the water really easily, dropping down, maybe using a paddle board or a kayak or things like that, these are really great platforms. Not only do they open up that whole space and make you feel like you're on a much larger boat, but it has that sort of user-friendliness to it too. How does it perform with the Yamahas? Well, today we were having about 40, 45 knots. It was a bit of wind today, really blowing up through into the Med from the Atlantic. So I wasn't able to get wide open throttle with it for a sustained period of time. So they tell me it will do about 50 knots. I can believe it. I think we're nearly there. Without the T-top, they're claiming almost 60 knots with the right power package of twin 300s. She's got speed that's to be respected. I haven't spent too much time with the Petestep hull design. I've used them on a couple of boats, and it's normally a really great boat and normally a really great design and technology in the running surface of the craft, which basically displaces the water away, lifts the hull, creates less drag, more fuel efficiency, keeps nice level playing field of the hull, keeping it planing really nice and level. And then you also have better efficiency in the engines because you have less aeration going through. From driving this one, I can tell that in a rougher sea, she's kept very, very level. In a big following sea, you might want to trim her up a little bit more. But you have a really good running surface, which is giving good fuel economy too. That mid-range torque from the Yamahas is already good, but paired with the Petestep, you're really getting up onto plane quickly, and then that sort of mid-range torque and punch, it really accelerates like a little sports car. So there's plenty of power with twin 300s. You could suffice with less power if you wanted. So now I've spent some time with the boat, probably about 10, 12 hours at sea with her. I can really get and understand the use case for this boat. If you are a couple or a yacht crew or a family that are wanting to do beach hopping and exploring around from bay to bay, looking very Gucci and sporty indeed, then this is the vessel for you. What I really like about it is how it has sort of this metamorphi? You know what I mean. It transforms into a very different craft with the drop-down sides. For such a young brand to be on the drive that they are, I'm really excited to see where Virtue goes next.